This year, we've had so many genre-defining video game releases. I don't think it's a hot take to say it has been the best year for gaming this decade, and I can take that a step further to say it's right there with the run 2016 had. It's come to a point where these developers and studios are coming together to celebrate and share the pivotal successes of one another. But we are reaching that time of year where you cannot have a discussion about any of these games without someone bringing up the Game Awards. Now it's gotta be a competition. Man, fuck your celebrations, fool. My 10 out of 10 game is better than yours. And yeah, that's basically what these debacles between player communities boil down to. Now, ain't nothing wrong with the memes and the slander. They are funny as hell.
Hi, my name is Cherry Bomb, and I fight for all the single moms out there that don't get the respect they deserve.
Let's do this!
But I have to say, bickering back and forth is so pointless, unless if you're playing the Rage Bait game, okay? But imagine comparing 5-star gourmet meals. The only variable worth accounting for is personal palate and preference. But nah, you deadass go under any thread and see people go off on these really stupid arguments. Why wouldn't Expedition 33 win? I mean, throughout all of humanity's existence in writing fiction and the arts of literature and storytelling, it is the best to ever do it because I said so.
Objection!
Turn-based games? They're not even real games, bro. What are you talking about? There's no way it's fun going back and forth, every encounter, when you can just play as a truly well-written protagonist, Jane Silksong.
Objection!
That's crazy talk for a side-scroller. Look at how horrid your graphics are. What's it like not having a game at the big year 2025 run at 1 decillions per GPUs to the testicular power of 2 watts per gigafarts? I don't understand what art style is.
Objection!
I have the best gameplay.
Fuck you!
That's why Ambulance Life, a paramedic simulator, will win Game of the Year.
I think that it's important.
Yeah, you know what, man? Let's leave all that energy right here, bro. You've seen the thumbnails from every other content creator. The lineup this year will be a bloodbath given all possible categories, with a certain few pushing 120% of their potential for Game of the Year. I need no introduction. I know you're all subscribed to me. And if you're not already, watch yourself, bro. I will be lurking. The Game Awards is the most popular award ceremony, as many of you know, for video games, and by extension it's similar to the legitimacy of the Oscars or the Grammys, despite having the craziest snubs every year. But I'm not gonna get into that right now, man. The Game Awards exist not to pit these games against each other just because, but to award and to acknowledge their individual achievements and successes as video game titles. And people throw the term popularity contest real lightly around the show, and I think that's probably the most one-dimensional opinion ever. Because realistically, if that was the case, you'd be seeing a game like Battlefield 6 and Arc Raiders run the definitive band for Game of the Year. And they're both awesome games, by the way, do not get me wrong. And if we're talking concurrently popular games, you are gonna get CSGO, Fortnite, League, or Roblox shoved down your throat every year. At the end of the day, who gives a fuck, man? These are just honorary awards. So if your preferred game doesn't win the big title or other categories they were nominated for, boo-hoo, bro, tighten up. Because as far as I'm concerned, this year, who hasn't won? Now, if you have a seething hatred for a game or two that will likely be nominated for Game of the Year, I mean, that's cool, I guess, whatever floats your hate boner. But being one of those people bashing on another's favorite thing just makes you look stupid as hell.
I'll be crying if I look like that too, bro.
Like, some of y'all act like we don't share the same reaction when we graze these amazing titles. But today, I am not here to push or maintain agendas. We are going to focus on celebration maxing over the 6 games I think will be nominated for the big award. Every single one of these titles have made ambitious reaches, and in their own ways, respective to their genre and overall mission, pushed some already high bars even further. It has come to a point where the developers themselves are celebrating each other's launches and successes. You might as well claim all that positive energy, twin. I'm just saying. Before I get rocking with this though, not to be contrarian about how I'm approaching this video, but it's something I have to make clear and be transparent about off the rip, because truth be told, I don't want to sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about. So, with that said, I am not the final boss of gamers, bro. I've got my rotation of games with friends and games I run solo. With that said, I haven't played every game to be mentioned in this video, so while I'm not qualified to judge or criticize the few, it's free to have an open worldview and perspective from what others around me or players online have to say about these games in a positive way. Like, it's not hard to see why they're rated above or around a 90% and have garnered such a positive reception. They're not just a Mickey Mouse game that plays safe. Yes, I am looking at you.
You can keep it.
But first, let's talk honorable mentions, and it goes without saying. If I do not mention your favorite game in this video, and your heart gets broken a little bit, go ahead and comment what that game is, you know, put us all on. I've not played any Silent Hill. I'm sorry, y'all could low-key execute me, put me on a wheel, and break my limbs. But do not worry, I see their motion, and that's why I'm mentioning it here. And from the perspective of it being a part of a franchise having cemented its place as being top tier in the conversation of psychological horror, it's interesting to see how they've integrated Japanese folklore into the game's premise given its setting. I feel like any contrarian takes on this game is mainly going to be between longtime fans of the series, but overall, I mean, you'd love to see another horror game pave its way into the industry right now. Blueprints. I have seen a lot of praise for this title under my YouTube polls, and it kinda seems like the Balatro of 2025. Balatro Balatres. Even John Balatro has given Blueprints their flowers by saying it's one of the best games he's ever played. So shout out to the devs at Dagobomb, I don't know, for making a game players recognize as being a revolutionary title within the genre of roguelikes, given an emphasis on the intricacies regarding its puzzle and strategy systems. Split Fiction. Me when the fiction is split? I don't know. I've never played Split Fiction before. I know it's the same devs as It Takes Two. Low-key, I need to get into this game with my girlfriend. Elden Ring Night Rain. Woo! Now, there is no way in hell this game is gonna get nominated, but I've got some flowers to give to Ishizaki, the director for Night Rain. If you've been with the channel for a while now, you would know I was optimistic about this game prior to its release. The game is amazing and a lot of fun when you don't have some fraudulent FromSoft fan up your ass telling you it's a pointless cash grab. If this game isn't your cup of tea, no problem. The latter, however, are just miserable people being negative over the game's conception as an openly experimental title. This guy here gets it, shout out to you. After putting in over 200 hours and having done everything the game has to offer over the span of its release, especially considering how much content it's gotten despite the game, keyword, not being a live service one, I'm more than pleased. And I know people are disappointed about the DLC coming out next year, but again, it was never a live service. Oh, wait. Oh. December. Let's see how the fans took that. Oh, yeah, no, people are still fucking miserable. Okay. It's always the fans saying, "Can we get a Bloodborne 2? Where's my Elden Ring DLC Part 2? You are a fake fan. There are plenty of bosses and soundtracks in Night Rain, your quote-unquote asset flip battle royale, that fucking clear the majority of FromSoft catalog bosses.
Not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say.
Hades 2. I know people are real passionate about this game and its predecessor, and I'm actually disappointed in myself for not having played either, yet. Art style is one of those aspects that this game is highly appraised for. I don't doubt for even a second if it ends up taking best art direction this year. Hades 2 enjoyers, you might be wondering, well, Zaminico, why don't you think it'll be hard-locked as a Game of the Year nominee? And my answer is simple. It is missing the console demographic. I hope it's not that much of a leverage point ultimately, but it's up in the air. As far as honorable mentions go, this is definitely interchangeable. Dispatch.
Anybody gonna roll?
Jacksepticeye.
This game did immaculate work for the Gooners. Okay, dude, look at this. I'm glad y'all were able to play in some snow. For the rice appreciators, shout out to y'all too.
You know what? Here go 2 more for y'all. Yeah.
But as a Mexican, it's all about the arroz con leche. Alright. Let's talk all-timers, heavy hitters, might I say, games of the year. Now I get that the gameplay loop is the most jarring part about this game's discussion, and it gets memed a lot for being a delivery simulator, and I haven't played either Death Stranding, okay? The game is obviously much more than just getting your steps in. There is a plot and story that unfolds before you, intense combat, and what is the most appraised aspect to this game? It's truly breathtaking and captivating world. Like, you are not going to argue against the fact that it's probably one of the few as being the most photorealistic titles out there today. It's also one of those games with a real unique cast featuring big names like Norman Reedus, Ellie Fanning, George Miller, and other talents from the film industry. But none of that still makes for a Game of the Year contender. So now, let's talk about Hideo Kojima. You know what some of the greatest directors got in common? Their greed, their joy for feet. You put them in a room together, and between them, you are gonna witness the crispiest dap-up known to man. Putting jokes aside, this year has been a statement for developers to not shy away from what makes them passionate about the process. I mean, it's always been about the experience of the journey, not the end, right? That goes for us as players too. Hideo Kojima might be the most cultured man in existence. From films, video games, art, music, to even feet.
I actually remember they asked to scan my, like underneath my feet for a reference.
Dude's whole character is about embracing creative liberty and always making that the primary essence of his works. So much so, he admitted that when playtesting results were coming through for Death Stranding 2, they were too good during its development. What the fuck does that mean, Kojima-san? I don't know what he ended up changing exactly or reverting, but I mean that statement alone is a pretty ballsy one. He's got a lot of good faith for the indie side of development right now in the industry, stating that's where the most interesting works are happening, and he's not wrong. Having given titles like Blueprints and Clear Obscure 33 their flowers as a AAA developer himself, he's stated that their highlights and their successes may end up influencing his own work going forward. And AAA as a whole, we've already known this for a while, has grown too comfortable within the industry. And I'm sure with Kojima's hella obtuse approach to game development, more focused on his angle to artistic expression, he is a firm believer that a game for everyone is a game for no one. The glaze for him and the game in question is well warranted, and with the high effort entry that is Death Stranding 2 on the beach, which also features a strong soundtrack by the way, shout out to you Woodkid, I do believe it's earned a slot for Game of the Year. Oh yeah, no, Kojima has something to say about another indie game. Hold on, let me pull it up. Hollow Knight Sneak Song. This game is 100% the sneak of the year when you're talking about the big six, because what do you mean? The devs damn near shadow dropped it after years of silence. Silksong is such a liberating game, man. The devs aren't trying to hold your hand, there is no elaborate study guide playing this game shoved down your throat. Here's your needle, now go kill God. You know, people somehow shit on 2D side-scrollers, Metroidvanias, and platformers, and I really just have to think to myself, that is so crazy. How a game of this seemingly minuscule caliber clears most open-world games. That's tough. Hold that thought though, hold on. If this was a Ubisoft game, they'd make simple keys a microtransaction so fast, it ain't even funny. You are placed in a world that does not want to stop growing with every stride of progression you make. And with this progression comes the discovery of tools, items, and crests to flex to your advantage. You get so many ways to approach this game that generally suits all playstyles imaginable. And I'm honestly still in disbelief on how Team Cherry managed to add so many combative systems without losing the identity of what made the first game's mechanics so great for how simple they are in retrospect. And I could make a whole video about this game's world building and the attention to the detail on the smallest things. I used to vocal stim off of old voice lines, you know, hit you with a somebody bring me my poshanka. Christopher Larkin. I genuinely want to touch you, bro. Bad things happen to good people. So not only is the game an evolution and literal sibling child to Hollow Knight, but you can listen to Larkin's own growth as a composer. Larkin starts going to lengths I didn't even imagine possible in his discography, with different instruments to complement or clash against one another, the use of dissonance with the cogwork dancers and when you're close to beating them. Overall, when you're talking about a game that sets new highs and creates this much commotion, Silksong is that. $20, dude, for hundreds of hours of gameplay with a world conceived out of love and real passion. Silksong deserves all the flowers it has received, from other creators paying their homages prior to the game's release, all the way to Sandfall Interactive delivering their piece congratulating Silksong. Alright, hold on, y'all hear that? Ce qui se passe? Je peux maintenant parler français? Sorry if my French is ass, it has been a while. But you know it, I know it, everybody knows it, this game was insta-locked for a nomination as far back as its release in April. Not to mention, it is one of the largest titles this year without being backed by a former franchise, so it's made a name for itself. Fun fact, the day I opened up this game for the first time like a week into its release, I was blackout drunk and I did not remember a single fucking thing in that whole start of the game up to Sophie's death, bro. You wanna know something crazy? I don't even fuck with turn-based games like that. But this game awoke my third eye and I discovered the ability to actually give turn-based a shot. From gameplay to story beats. If you are a fan of any of these games, Expedition 33 is an amalgamation of what makes all of them goated. And all the respects and tributes given to the studio from Kojima to Final Fantasy and pushing that towards Team Cherry is motion that is so unparalleled. I'm a Sekiro enthusiast, so when this game makes parrying an essential to its core gameplay, and the optimal way to play by the way, my brother in Christ, I never used that dodge button in my entire playthrough. Then the combat becomes a playstyle mix with Sekiro, infused and spiked with enemies who delay attacks as diabolically as Elden Ring bosses.
I'm about to farm some good XP off you. Is it my turn?
It's crazier to think that while this game gets a lot of love for its pseudo-revolutionary turn-based gameplay mechanics, the story, man, that is the most captivating part of this game. At least for me it was. And then there's the soundtrack. I gotta give a standing ovation to Alice Duport, John I Am the Storm That Is Approaching, and former SoundCloud artist Lorien Testard. If I play this in the car and bro tells me to turn that shit off, I'm giving bro the Reze Bakugo treatment. Shut your punk ass up. Dude, they had Charlie Cox in the studio for like 4 hours, and he delivered a performance like he had a gun to the back of his head.
Fuck the mission! My gun and your spots?
And then there's Ben Starr. Shout out to First Berserker Kazan. And much like the friendly bugs in the Hollow Knight games, the Gestrels and Eskia in this game are such a nice touch to lighten the gruesome expedition at hand. And the main cast of characters are all both compelling and tragic. Despite living in a make-believe world, their humanity is so real. Despite the game's problems with the liberties and balancing going into Act 3, the ending and plot twist at the end of Act 2, it still got me reminiscing, man. So peak. The game deserves all the flowers it has received and is my personal vote for Game of the Year. But if you want to know which game this year has the biggest cult glazers, look no further than this game's community. Deadass, you could have Charlie Kirk's resurrection happen, and these cult-like pages on Twitter will observe the situation and be like, huh, how can I make this about Expedition 33? But in all fairness, every problem ever starts with opening that fuck-ass app. Alright, we're moving on now. The next 3 are going to be relatively shorter on my end because we are on the clock now, and I'm less familiar with their game, but I still feel their emotion. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest, it's hard to talk on this game, but let me cook, okay? Once again, I've never played the first one. Oh my god, no one is surprised. I'm sorry, okay? But the following this game has, I gotta commend y'all under my YouTube polls in the comments because y'all might be some of the biggest loyalists I have ever seen to a game. The street's been saying this game is the pinnacle of medieval RPGs, and the diverse environmental sandboxes you're free to travel and explore through. I mean, I think it's an interesting approach that the devs took, with realism, integrating that into the core gameplay and systems, as a focal point to its immersivity. I mean, have you seen the combat? If you need a lot more happening on your screen to enjoy it, that's good for you. But respect to the devs for taking this route of slow, calculated combat. Then there's also the bits I've seen smithing your own sword or even dancing with townsfolk. I don't know how often you're free to do that, but it adds to my point. This game's identity lies in the nature of its period that it's set in. And that's all I've got for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. My confidence with this being in the Big Six is pretty shaky, but at the same time, there is a special place for medieval RPGs in the hearts and history of both the industry and gamers. Donkey Kong Bonanza. Hey, he's a Nintendo shill. Get him! Yo, what? No, I'm not. Alright, let's look at this game differently from the rest for one, okay? There are 6 slots, right? I can guarantee that there will be 1 slot for a Nintendo game, and on my left testicle, I bet it'll go to Donkey Kong Bonanza. And I feel like I gotta make this known because uttering anything Nintendo in the Big 25 is like the equivalent of meeting an underage girl or something. But no, I don't own a Switch 2, and I'm not planning on it either. But let's be honest, when you're talking about a new Nintendo console, DKB filled the role for being its most definitive opening hit of a title. From my understanding of the game, it's a spiritual successor to Super Mario Odyssey, which is another Nintendo all-timer by the way. Players have a lot of fun. That's all I see for this game, and I think that is the biggest consensus I can come to. Now, I'm not so sure how it stands out as far as it being a revolutionary game, especially under the Donkey Kong franchise. For my fellow DKB enjoyers in the comments, feel free to let me know and tell us, what makes the game uniquely fun or expansive than prior Nintendo platforming action-adventure games. I'm genuinely curious. I mean, by looking at it alone, the gameplay looks smooth and it looks like a good time. I just don't know the ball knowledge right now to expand more than that, Anyways, no shot it's not a nominee, and we'll know in the next 24 hours of me uploading this video, and if I'm wrong, I will send y'all a fragment of my left testicle, I promise. Ghost of Yote. I haven't played the first one either. PlayStation exclusives. There's the Nintendo slot I already mentioned, but this game will 100% take a slot as this year's largest release for Sony. I've got coworkers and a barista from this cafe I go to often that usually tell me, they all agree on one thing when it comes to this game. It's not a deviation from what made the first game, but a refinement of everything that made it special. And sometimes that's all you need to keep a great game great. I think you can draw this comparison to God of War Ragnarok and The Last of Us 2 from their respective first titles which brought the life and greatness into them. Though what tends to make the conversation a whole with these PlayStation titles is the overarching story itself that the sequel provides. Yeah, on that end, I don't know shit about the Ghost of Yote. So once again, my fellow Yoteers, let us know what you thought of the story and how it compares or connects to the first game's narrative and plot and if it's good or not. Because all I see about this game, aside from incels complaining that the MC is a chick, is that she is actually a Von mover set in Edo period Japan. And that is our 6 contenders. Except I'm lying, make it 7. Since this game came out in the middle of scripting and editing, Arc Raiders might be the game with the most amount of motion this year. I don't doubt for even a second if it guarantees a spot in the Big Six. People give this game its flowers as if it's the pinnacle of extraction shooters, and honestly it might just be. I haven't played it yet, or any extraction shooter for that matter, I'm sorry, but for a multiplayer game, it's holding itself up real high and with good reason. Alright Jeff, hold your fucking horses, man. Did I cook with these predictions? Do you like the thumbnail? I drew it. Let me know your thoughts and predictions in the comments. In 24 hours time of this video going up, we'll see if I'm a fraud or a guy you gotta put stocks into. For any video info and subscriber interactions, please peep the community tab. We be getting active in there. Sale pues, I'm headed out.